Oh, hello. New day, working on the old Jeep here. I figured I'd take this opportunity to show you guys the Jeep a little closer. You know, there's a couple of things that I didn't mention in the first video. There's a couple little problems that I would like to address right now. Some I can't do yet, but I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what we're working with here. So yeah, let's just get started and I'll show you all the little things with it. So here we are under the engine bay. Very dirty, but you know, this is to be expected for an off-road vehicle. When I went and saw this car first, there was a couple things that really kind of piqued my interest. One of them was this whole battery terminal situation. They've got some pretty beefy battery terminals on here that have a lot of connections, which is actually super cool, and I really like that. The problem comes with what they are connected to. I believe this one is for an amp for a sub that is no longer with the vehicle. And this one is interesting. Actually, let me flip that around. This one right here is for the amp for the sub. This one is the one that's interesting. This is for the power inverter that is back here in the back. This guy. Which was, one, there's no fuse for it up there, and two, it was unplugged. So I am looking into that too. I gotta find out where, because on here it says that there are 3 each 30 amps fuses, which leads me to believe that there's 3 spots in the system somewhere where there should be a fuse. So I need to look into that a little more, see if there's other spots throughout the vehicle that need fuses, or if it's just this one spot. I'm not an electrician, so I gotta look into that before I hurt myself. Another thing underneath the hood is this jank air filter. I don't know what the thought process was here, but it looks terrible. And it's held on by a coat hanger of sorts. So I've already gone to the junkyard and I got a steal on an intake for this car. Out here looking for an intake for the Jeep here at my local scrapyard, junkyard, whatever you want to call it. I should have brought sunglasses. It is bright as hell out here. You're not going to believe what I just found. Here at the junkyard, looking for an intake for the Jeep. And I found this. What a score. Nice. I'm gonna yoink that. So we're gonna be installing that new air filter today, as well as 6 new spark plugs, and we're gonna change the oil. 2 more issues that require getting underneath the Jeep. Alright, so first of all, we have this homemade exhaust system here, which is literally just cut off from the catalytic converter. It's very loud. Honestly, I think it sounds okay. Kind of sounds like a mix between a Supra and a Cummins. So me and my friends call it the Supins. But I'd like to get a full, somewhat complete exhaust all the way to the back. I haven't really thought about what to do with that yet. That's kind of just still kind of working through the thought process on that. One major issue that I found is actually kind of comical over here. So here we have one of the rear shock mounts, and as you can see, there is supposed to be a nut right here. So the bolt comes out right here, and a nut comes on, and it just clamps it in place. But there are zip ties on here holding it in place, and that's concerning. But just to make sure it was extra secure, I went and got 2 more zip ties. So I'm contributing to the madness. But if we look over here, we can see what it's supposed to look like. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to cut this guy off and weld on a new pair for both sides. I mean, technically we could just do one side, but I'll do both sides that will have this here so it's not held on by zip ties, because that's something that lives in the back of my memory rent-free whenever I'm riding around. So I'd like to not have this problem. The other fun major issue is power steering box is leaking, or I guess just the steering box. That's what this puddle right here is, which is you can't see very well, but he's right down here. I've done a bunch of research online about these, and people recommend going to a Durango steering box, but I've also seen people online say that those fail just as fast as well. There's a company called Redhead Steering that makes an aftermarket box for these. I might end up going with that. We're not going to address that today just because it's kind of a big job and I don't have the parts for it yet. Now let me show you this sweet deal I got on this intake. I found this intake. It's a little dirty, but it's a rough country intake. I found it on I believe it was a 93 XJ at the junkyard, and I was so ecstatic when I saw it. And then I looked it up online, and it was brand new, MSRP-ish was like 150 bucks, and I got this for 20 bucks from the local junkyard. So I'm pretty happy and excited about that. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing on there, and then we're gonna do the spark plugs and then change the oil. So I'll take you guys along for that. Let go of my ego. Jeez. Alright, it's all installed. Cleaned it up a little bit, and it actually cleaned up quite nicely, but it's all installed now. Kind of curious to see how it sounds. Well, that sounds pretty good. This is better than I was expecting. And it looks a lot better than that jank setup with the coat here. I just finished putting in the spark plugs. So now we're going to do the oil change. I was doing a little bit of research online to see what kind of oil to get for these. And it seems like the general consensus on the forums is that these can pretty much run on like applesauce. So I just got some Valvoline high mileage 10W30. Man, referring to the Jeep forums online for these is a good time. The people on there are hilarious. I went on there to see what the spark plug torque specs were, and everybody on there was like, torque specs? You guys torque your spark plugs? I just give them an ugga-dugga until they're tight, and I was like, oh boy. So I just gave them the old 1-2 and we're good to go. So a quick little Jeep update. I'm currently stranded on the side of the road because my Jeep decided to dump gas everywhere. So it sputtered and died. And so now we're chilling on the side of the road trying to figure out where the leak's coming from. Yeah, I was on my way to go camping, but it's kind of put the damper on things, so I guess we'll see what happens. So another update, I found the problem. There's this hose right here. It goes up to the fuel rail, goes back down, I'm assuming, to the gas tank. These little hose clamps were not very tight, so all the gas was shooting out the bottom. You should have seen it. It was like a freaking geyser. But yeah, so now everything underneath is coated in gas. Actually, it's probably all evaporated now, but thankfully I had my tools with me, and I just tightened this down, so I think we're good to go. So, on to camping.